Hey everyone, welcome back to Damaging Hooks. Today, we're going to be diving into a matchup that's got everyone talking Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford.
Oh, yeah.
Now, on paper, this looks like a classic clash of styles, right?
Yeah.
Canelo, the powerhouse, against Crawford, the technician. But it gets even more interesting when you consider they wouldn't be fighting at the same weight.
Right.
We're talking Canelo at super middleweight, 168 pounds of pure force.
Yeah.
Potentially facing Crawford, who'd be coming up from welterweight, 147 pounds.
Big jump.
So that begs the question, can skill truly bridge a 21-pound gap in boxing?
It's a massive difference, no doubt. And it immediately makes you wonder, how does Crawford, known for his speed and agility, navigate against someone who could potentially outweigh him by a whole weight class?
Exactly. So let's break down why this weight disparity is such a big deal. For those who might not be familiar with boxing's weight classes, can you explain why these divisions exist and what a 21-pound difference could mean in the ring?
Well, weight classes are all about creating a fair fight. A 21-pound difference, especially at the elite level, is a huge EE advantage for the heavier fighter. Not just in terms of raw power, but also in how they can control the ring and dictate the pace of the fight. Canelo, with his history of moving up in weight, has shown he can carry that power effectively.
Right. He's not just a big guy swinging wildly. He's learned to be strategic with that extra weight, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Canelo's known for breaking opponents down, especially in the later rounds. That kind of pressure, combined with his natural strength, can be incredibly difficult to deal with, even for fighters in the same weight class. Think about it. Canelo's already known for his devastating body shots. Imagine those amplified against someone who's naturally lighter.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
It almost feels like Crawford will be walking into a lion's den, taking on a predator in its natural habitat.
Yeah, and that's where this matchup gets truly fascinating. Can Crawford's technical brilliance and ring IQ overcome such a significant physical disadvantage? Can he outsmart and outmaneuver someone who might be able to simply walk through his punches?
That's the million-dollar question. Now, we've already established that Canelo packs a serious punch.
Oh, yeah.
But let's dig a little deeper into what makes him such a formidable opponent.
Well, one of Canelo's most underrated assets is his fight IQ. He's incredibly adaptable and often seems to be a step ahead of his opponents. He doesn't just rely on his power. He sets traps, uses feints, and systematically breaks his opponents down. Yeah,
I remember his fight against insert name of opponent where he completely nullified opponent's strengths by cutting off the ring and forcing him into a brawl. It was like watching a master strategist at work.
Exactly, and you can't forget his defense. He's got exceptional head movement and a knack for slipping punches. Which makes him even more difficult to hit cleanly.
So it's not just about Canelo's power. It's about the complete package. The strength, the strategy, and the ability to take a punch. But let's not forget about Crawford. He's not coming into this fight empty-handed.
Absolutely not. Terence Crawford is widely regarded as one of the most technically gifted fighters of our generation. He's a master at controlling distance and creating angles. And his ability to switch stances seamlessly from orthodox to southpaw throws off even the most seasoned opponents.
I remember watching his fight against Errol Spence Jr., who was also considered a pound-for-pound great. Crawford made him look almost lost at times, like he couldn't figure out the puzzle that Crawford was presenting.
That's a perfect example of Crawford's adaptability and ring IQ. He doesn't just have a plan A, he's got a plan B, C, and D. He's constantly adjusting, reading his opponent, and finding ways to exploit weaknesses.
So in a way, it's like we're talking about two different kinds of chess players. Canelo, the aggressive player, looking to checkmate quickly with brute force, and Crawford, the patient player, waiting for his opponent to make a mistake and then capitalizing with precision.
That's a great analogy. But here's the thing. Can Crawford's strategic brilliance make up for that significant weight difference? Can his chess game outmaneuver Canelo's raw power, especially when one wrong move could be the end of the game?
That's what we're going to explore next, right after a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be back to break down each fighter's strengths and weaknesses in detail. Stick with us, because you don't want to miss this. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share Damaging Hooks with your friends. We'll be right back.
All right, so let's get back into this Canelo-Crawford hypothetical super fight.
Yeah.
We were talking about Crawford's technical skills and his adaptability. How might those play into a matchup against Canelo?
Yeah, you mentioned Crawford's ability to switch stances and control distance. Do you see that being effective against someone like Canelo, who's known for cutting off the ring and putting pressure on his opponents?
That's the big question, you know?
Right.
Canelo's ring generalship is incredible. He's very good at trapping his opponents and making them fight his fight. However, Crawford is so elusive and has a knack for finding angles that other fighters don't see. If he can maintain distance and avoid getting caught on the ropes, he could frustrate Canelo.
Okay, that makes me think of Crawford's counterpunching. I remember watching his fight against insert name of opponent who is a pressure fighter, where he was able to make them miss and land some beautiful counters. Do you think that could be a key factor against Canelo?
It definitely has the potential to be. Canelo is aggressive.
Right.
But he's not reckless.
Right.
However, even the best fighters leave openings.
Yeah.
And Crawford has a gift for exploiting those openings. I mean, remember we're talking about a guy who made Errol Spence Jr. look hesitant.
Right.
If Crawford can time his counters and make Canelo pay for overcommitting, he could definitely disrupt Canelo's rhythm.
But let's not forget about Canelo's defense. He's known for his head movement and ability to take a punch.
Yeah.
Could that neutralize Crawford's counterpunching?
Yeah, that's another layer to this matchup. Canelo is incredibly durable and hard to hit cleanly. It's not just about landing a counter. It's about landing a counter that can hurt him. Crawford would need to be incredibly precise and pick his shots carefully.
So it seems like this fight would come down to whether Crawford can stick and move, avoid those big bombs from Canelo, and land enough counters to make him think twice about pressing forward.
Right. But even if Crawford can do all that, we can't forget about the power differential. Canelo's punches carry a lot of weight behind them. Even if Crawford is technically sound, can he withstand that kind of power over 12 rounds?
That brings us back to that 21-pound difference.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're asking Crawford to defy physics.
Well, in a way we are, but boxing has always been about more than just size and strength. Technique, strategy, and heart can play a huge role. Remember, there was a time when no one thought a smaller fighter like Manny Pacquiao could handle the power of someone like Oscar De La Hoya.
Right.
And yet Pacquiao shocked the world.
You're right. There are always upsets in boxing. But in this case, it feels like Crawford would be facing an uphill battle.
It would definitely be a challenge, possibly the biggest of his career. But if anyone has the skills and the boxing IQ to pull off an upset like this, it's Terence Crawford.
Okay, so we've talked about the strategic and technical aspects of this fight. But what about the mental game? How do you think each fighter would approach this matchup mentally?
I think Canelo would be confident as he should be. He's used to being the bigger, stronger fighter. He'd likely try to impose his will early on and make Crawford feel his power.
So a bit of intimidation, reminding Crawford who's the king of the jungle.
Exactly. On the other hand, I think Crawford would embrace the underdog role.
Oh.
He's been in this position before, and he seems to thrive on proving people wrong. I imagine him being very calculated and patient, waiting for his opportunity to strike.
Almost like a chess player waiting for that one critical blunder from his opponent.
That's a good way to put it. I think Crawford would try to make this a mental game as much as a physical one. He'd want to frustrate Canelo, make him doubt himself, and then capitalize on any mistakes.
It's almost like we're talking about a battle of wills as much as a battle of skills.
Exactly. And that's what makes this hypothetical matchup so intriguing. It's not just about who's stronger or faster. It's about who can impose their will on the other, who can control the narrative of the fight.
So let's say this fight actually happens. Walk us through how you think it might unfold, round by round. What do you see happening in the ring?
Okay, let's try to paint a picture of how this might go down. In the early rounds, I think Crawford would use his footwork and angles to keep Canelo at bay. He'd likely try to frustrate Canelo with jabs and movement, maybe even steal a few rounds on the scorecards. But Canelo's relentless. He wouldn't get discouraged easily. I see him slowly cutting off the ring, putting pressure on Crawford and trying to wear him down.
So a classic battle of speed versus power, the matador versus the bull.
Exactly. As the fight progresses, I think the weight difference would start to become a factor. Canelo's punches would start to land more frequently, and his body shots would take their toll. Crawford's movement might become less fluid, his reflexes a bit slower.
So you see Canelo slowly breaking him down like a battering ram against a castle wall.
That's a good analogy. Now, I don't necessarily see Canelo scoring a knockout. Crawford is incredibly tough and has a great chin, but I think the later rounds would belong to Canelo. He'd likely win a decision, maybe even a late stoppage if Crawford gets caught with a big shot.
So while you acknowledge Crawford's skills and intelligence, you're ultimately leaning towards Canelo as the likely winner.
Based on their current styles and that significant weight difference, I think Canelo has the edge. But here's what I find fascinating. Even if Canelo wins, it doesn't diminish Crawford's accomplishments. Just the fact that he's willing to step up and face a challenge like this, speaks volumes about his heart and his competitive spirit.
You're right. Sometimes it's not about winning or losing. It's about pushing your limits and testing yourself against the best. And let's be honest, even in a loss, Crawford would gain a lot of respect from fans and fellow fighters for daring to step into the ring with a giant like Canelo.
Absolutely. And for Canelo, a win over Crawford wouldn't just be another notch on his belt. It would be a statement. It would show the world that he can not only conquer bigger opponents, but also outsmart one of the most technically gifted fighters in the world.
So it's a high-stakes fight for both men with potential rewards that go beyond just belts and titles. It's about legacy, it's about respect, and it's about proving their greatness on a global stage.
Exactly. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible in boxing and showcasing the true beauty of the sport.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've analyzed the styles, weighed the odds, and even taken a peek into the potential mental game between these two warriors. But now I want to turn it over to you, our listeners. What do you think? Could Terence Crawford pull off the upset? Or would Canelo's power be too much to overcome? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And remember, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to Damaging Hooks for more in-depth boxing analysis, and share this episode with your friends. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of boxing. Until then, stay tuned and keep those jabs sharp. So we've really gone deep on Canelo's strengths, explored Crawford's incredible skills, and even tried to imagine how this fight might play out, round by round.
And what's so fascinating here is even with all this analysis, the outcome is so far from certain.
Right. I mean, that's the beauty of boxing, isn't it?
It really is.
You can break down the styles, the stats, the tail of the tape, but there's always that element of unpredictability.
Yeah, it's the human factor that throws in the wild card.
Exactly. On paper, Canelo might seem like the obvious favorite because of the size and power advantage.
Right.
But as we've discussed, Crawford is a master strategist.
Yeah.
He could find a way to disrupt Canelo's game plan, exploit those tiny openings, and maybe even turn the tide.
It's possible.
Yeah.
What I find particularly intriguing is how this fight would test both fighters mentally.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about the physical challenge.
Right.
But the mental game could be just as crucial.
Oh, for sure. For Canelo, the pressure would be immense. He's expected to win. He's the bigger man, the established champion. Anything less than a dominant victory could be seen as a disappointment.
And for Crawford, there's the weight of history on his shoulders. If he pulls this off, it would be a legendary upset.
Oh, yeah.
But that also means dealing with the constant doubts, the naysayers who believe he's simply too small to handle Canelo's power.
Yeah, but I think that's where Crawford's mental toughness comes in. He's faced doubters throughout his career.
He has.
He's used to being the underdog. And he seems to thrive in those situations.
He's got that prove them wrong mentality, doesn't he?
Exactly. And against someone like Canelo, that mindset could be his greatest weapon. He'd need to stay calm under pressure, believe in his skills, and never give an inch.
So while Canelo might have the physical edge, Crawford could potentially have the psychological advantage. Makes you wonder, does that level the playing field even slightly?
It's tough to say for sure, but one thing's certain.
Yeah.
This fight wouldn't just be a clash of styles, it would be a clash of wills.
And that's what makes it such a captivating hypothetical matchup.
Yeah.
We're talking about two of the best fighters of our generation, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses, going head-to-head in a battle for supremacy.
Imagine the electricity in the arena.
Oh, yeah.
The anticipation building as both fighters step into the ring. It would be a night for the history books, a true spectacle of skill, power, and strategy.
And even though we might never see this fight actually happen,
right,
the beauty of boxing is that we can always dream, we can analyze, and we can speculate.
Absolutely. And who knows?
Yeah. Maybe someday this dream matchup will become a reality.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the potential clash of titans, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford.
It's been a good one.
We've covered the technical aspects, the strategic nuances, and even explored the mental game that could make or break this fight.
For sure.
Now we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this hypothetical matchup? Do you think Crawford could pull off the upset? Or would Canelo's power be too overwhelming? Let us know in the comments section below.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Damaging Hooks for more in-depth boxing analysis.
Yep.
And share this episode with your friends.
Until next time, stay tuned, keep those jabs sharp, and remember, every fight has a story, and we're here to tell it.